Mark. What is this crazy idea of yours?
All right, so we're here at Showcase Games and Comics in Swarthmore, PA. We're about ready to start the event, but, you know, Dan and I really didn't do a whole lot of planning for the event. We did.
With bad decks.
But we didn't want to, you know, make any decisions, be adults. So we are going to roll to figure out what we're playing. We have 8 decks here.
Rules.
The rules are you get 2 rolls. You get 2 decks to choose from. If you don't want either of those decks, you roll for the remaining decks, and that is a deck that you are forced to play. If I roll Bugs, I can't play that since I've top 4'd an event with it. If Dan rolls Starscream,
we'll just take that out of the equation to start.
For when
we'll just say
I
that's
roll.
1, and if you roll a 1, you re-roll.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah. So do you want to go first, or do you want to go second?
You go first.
You want me to go first, so I can't play this one.
All right.
So 1, 2, 3, 1 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
All right.
I need this one because it's the 8-sider.
Yeah, go ahead. I know what it is.
Friendo.
We're good.
1.
All right.
So we have 5, 3, 4, 5. So this is Optimus Prime and Common Bumblebee. And now we need a 6-sider. 2.
Wing balloon.
So,
riding or dying.
So, I have Windblade, Alpha Bravo, and Skydive.
Sorry.
So, I mean, I'm just going to play this deck.
All right.
I'm just playing this deck.
All right.
I'm just playing
I'll
this
take
deck.
it. I will take it.
So you can't play this one.
I played it earlier. It's okay.
Yeah.
I hope
There you go.
it's sweet.
Here you go.
All right, so I only have to roll 6.
Currently, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we go.
4. 1, 4? Oh, I guess this is 1. This is 4.
All right.
Optimus Bumblebee.
This deck wants to get played today.
Yeah.
It really does.
All right.
Reroll on 6. Reroll.
Of course.
3.
3. What we
So
got?
what is that?
Oh. It's not the one I wanted.
Well,
All right.
All right.
So,
Exactly.
so I said I was gonna do it, so I'm gonna do it.
all right, so let's see what he can get. So he's just going to take a die. Whatever he gets, he has to play. So we have aerial bots in the pool. We have the
Double Grim,
double Grimlock.
Bugs.
We have Bugs. And what is this? Old school
Oh,
cars.
okay.
Old school cars.
All right.
That's
Well,
new school.
we're gonna go with the D4. This is still our 1.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right. Here we go.
1.
Playing aerial bots.
Awful.
It's all right. It happens.
Should have chose the Bumblebee.
Of course, I have to edit it real quick. All right. Well, there we go.
All right, we'll let you guys know how we did.
Have fun.
Okay.
All right. Welcome back to episode 5. Right?
I believe.
Think
Yeah,
it-
5.
It might be 5. I'm not sure actually, but I'm pretty sure it's 5.
I think it's 5, yes.
Once again, the Hotshots are back. We're sitting here, me and Mark. We are home away from home scenarios because we're not next to each other, and that's sad.
It is very sad.
But we're gonna do our best to give you an update of what's been going on, how our final event of the month went, how the roll-off went that we had discussed last time, which is kind of what you're already looking at now. And yeah, we're gonna go over the predictions. We're gonna go into maybe some new predictions and our local meta and like how much it's been different than what we kind of imagined it was gonna look like.
Yeah, it's quite the broad landscape.
Yeah, I mean, there's been different decks every week in Top Wars, you know.
There has been.
So it's So let's start with the roll. Right? So I suggested to you that you go first.
Yeah, I don't know why I had to go first.
It was your idea, and yeah, it was your idea.
Sometimes you gotta shoot a monkey into space, got it.
Yeah. I like that reference. Sure.
Yeah.
So, in the roll-off, you got Optimus Bumblebee, a deck that we had just had a whole week about. Well, I had a whole week about. You know, because whatever. And then you also got Windblade.
Mm-hmm. We did get
So,
Windblade.
a little bit of backstory on the Windblade. The backstory is me and Mark, for probably about the last, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks at this point, have really, really, really tried to find a home for Windblade.
Outside of our trade binder.
Yes. Yes. Outside of trade binders. So let's just get into it. How was your tournament?
My tournament was great. My win-loss record was not as desirable as great. So,
All right.
yeah. I did not win a single game with Windblade in 5 rounds.
Well, you won the bye.
Well, on paper I did. But we played during that round, and so I didn't win any games that I played with Windblade on the day.
I won one.
Oh, you won one with Windblade?
I won one.
Yeah, that's true.
I won one. So that what you're telling me is that you played 5 more rounds than I did with the deck, and I had more wins with you? More wins than you on the day?
That's accurate.
Damn.
That is accurate.
That's probably because the deck I was playing at was equally as misguided.
It could have been, or maybe you just didn't read a card.
Yeah, I didn't read the card, but I still won a game.
Right, if you would have and if you would have read that map.
Yes, it would have. It would have.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this deck. We both had said we wanted specialist. We had talked a lot about what specialist and why. You were pretty set on Alpha Bravo, and you were having a tough time finding another 5 that we wanted. We had bounced back and forth with like maybe it should have been Flame War. Trying to think of some of the others that we had suggested.
We had briefly suggested
RC, yeah, that's right. We briefly suggested RC. And then I came up with the idea of Skydive for the tough 2 to give you maybe like an extra turn or so defending Windblade, because I felt the way that we were building the deck that it was going to have a good enough amount of blues to get away with that.
Right, and then also with the epiphany of Skydive, I believe we were playing Leap into Battle originally.
Yeah, the original plan was for Leap into Battle. Technical
offense.
Okay, technical difference, we lost you there for a second. Still losing you. La la.
We back?
There you go. All right, go ahead.
So originally with the epiphany of Skydive, we wanted to have some more defense, add some more blues. We started with Leap of Faith just because it's good, gains you free cards. But when we're trying to defend, it gave us Recon System, which helps on defense, helps on offense, and it's a blue and an orange card, so it helps Windblade get another free card.
Yeah.
I
was
like that card a lot.
Yeah, like Recon was just generally good, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Recon was good.
Yeah, I in the brief like games that I played with the deck, I was very impressed with Recon System. Like it did exactly what we wanted it to do. And then for the added bonus, it was a dual pip that you could put on Windblade.
Right. So I think the main problem was the deck did what we wanted it to do. It's just there was too many whites. You couldn't actually get like a solid attack on offense. You couldn't get a solid defense when you're defending. And the main thing is like the weapons, the dual pipped weapons that Windblade can get for free just aren't powerful enough to push enough damage on your small guys.
Yeah, I mean, it went to the extent that we played Grenade Launcher because of this.
Well, yeah, but Grenade Launcher's great.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, we, you know, like, when we first laid everything out, I said to you, I was like, I really wish we could play Grenade Launcher in this deck. And then, like, you're just like, yeah, I'm going to make that happen.
Yeah.
I was like, all right,
So, and
cool.
I also think we probably went too heavy on the specialist cards. We played 3 communicators and 2 multi-mission gears, and I think that was kind of a pitfall, trying to focus too much on the specialists, and you can just basically do it with just Windblade as your specialist, just using like 2 field communicators as additional card advantage engines.
Yeah, like I think even if like you change Skydive out and you go to like a more orange approach, I still think Alpha Bravo with field communicator is probably still acceptable enough because it's a guaranteed 3 damage. Like looking at it like that, and then like it could be more with your Nobles Blasters against Decepticons, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
if we did get away from we need to have 2 to 3 specialists, then I think it would be fine like getting rid of some of those cards. Like I don't think multi-mission gear was probably good enough. Just because like it found like yeah like you're like trying to put stuff on top of your deck the entire time, and like so you have all these abilities that do that, but like the multi-mission gear, it just felt like I'd always have to have like 2 good things in my hand at the same time, and like maybe it was just like too awkward at times.
Well, usually it was 2 mediocre things.
Yeah, yeah.
It was either like you would multi-mission gear into incoming transmission or secret dealings to set up the top of your deck, which is good and all, but like that requires you to have 3 cards to make your Windblade flip relevant, which is a lot of hoops to jump through for something that's not even
For
gonna like break the game open.
yeah, like I kind of like even if you go back and you watch the verse video that we released this week with Scott and I, you get these turns where like you flip Windblade and you get like an upgrade, but it doesn't matter if you don't have another upgrade. Like you just like, all right, I got my upgrade for turn, but now I have a weaker attacking Windblade. You know?
Yeah, and it's one of those. There were turns where I played 4 and 5 cards, and it doesn't matter
Yeah, like
because I can't do any damage.
it feels awesome. You know?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was
But-
definitely cool.
You're like, oh, well, that's all I got. So, yada
Yeah.
yada. Yeah, I can get behind that. Like even like once again, I'll go back to that verse video that we just released. Scott had a double leap of faith turn scenario, or he had like leap of faith into confidence into an ability from confidence, etc., etc. And it was just a long turn that in the end of the game didn't matter at all. And I think it just comes down to the pure fact that the weapons in the deck just aren't good enough. Or for
The
like
deck.
they're not good enough with these set of characters. I keep losing you, Mark.
I was saying, like, the one thing that I did like about the deck was since you have all these new dual pip cards, most of them are all green. So you got to make choices every single battle you were in.
All right, so green pips every combat. Go.
Oh, yeah. So basically you're just changing your hand to sculpt whatever's going on each turn, each battle. And I haven't played anything that has come close to doing that yet in this game. It was really interesting. Be able to do, gave you so many options, let you try and leverage play skill, but the problem is it doesn't matter how much play skill you have when your deck is just, on such a lower power level than everybody else and what they're doing.
Yeah, I can agree to that. What were I don't have the actual list in front of me. What were some of those green cards?
Clearly we had a full set of secret dealings.
Yep.
Then we had a whole bunch of like 2-ofs. Oh, we also had a full set of espionage because trying to play like an aggro role where you just flip Windblade, espionage them, attack, get some oranges, but that's probably not great. Like our other dual pip cards are like escape route, backup beam, press the advantage, Nobles Blaster, and then we had a few singletons, bashing shield, smelt, and enforcement batons, all sort of toolbox cards that you can just get whenever you need them.
Yeah, And then, like I was trying to say earlier, like the recon system really does a good job of letting you see more cards throughout the game, so you can get the ones
Yeah.
you need faster. Which is
Yep,
what I
and
was
we had
enjoying about it.
yeah, we had a good addition with from the Devastator deck. We had Reclaim, so it's one of those things that you could set up a Windblade flip as well.
Yep.
With a flipped weapon. You just reclaim it to the top, flip your Windblade, and keep going. And it also lets you backdoor ways to get cards back. If you see a Bashing Shield go by early and you don't need to get it, you can reclaim it on top, attack, and you can still get it back to use for the following turn.
Yeah. So you're not always forced into discarding in like the hopes of like, oh, I don't like they don't have any armor right now, so I don't need this Bashing Shield right now. I like these cards in my hand. Later on, you still have the opportunity to get it back.
Or, same thing with Pressy Advantage or Espionage. You don't need it against Enigma decks, but you may need it later, so you can't reclaim that one, but we have 3 of those. You can't reclaim the Press, but you can do it with the weapons. That's why there was the Singleton Enforcement Batons and the Bashing Shield. And then the other things you could set up were the Noble's Blaster and Backup Beam, which were admittedly just not strong enough.
Yeah, like I'm generally not a fan of enforcement baton. I just don't think it gives you enough, in my opinion. Like you're taking away a weapon that's likely already been used on a guy that like you're probably gonna kill anyway.
Well, it should be good in theory against like the combiner decks, where sometimes they put a weapon on somebody that they don't attack with that turn.
Yes.
Or against, they have a low damage output. You need to be able to kill a Piercing Blaster for like when they're ready because your guys are going to live. Something like that. Or an Energon Axe. It kills Optimus Prime's Ion Blaster. Just random stuff like that. It was just a one-of that you could always find. So
yeah.
I didn't think it was terrible, but it's kind of like the reason we used to play Drill Arms in like all our decks because you needed to kill armors. Now we had something that can kill a weapon, since I thought more weapons were going to be more prevalent as well.
Yeah. Now, like, what about... So, we've really been playing Smelt a lot more recently. How was Smelt in this deck?
Every time I cast it, it was good. Every time I played it, it was good.
You weren't getting rid of, like, field communicators?
No, I was not. So... Okay.
All right. So Smelt.
Like I said, every time I cast it, it was good on the day. Not good against the 5-6 wide decks, but the thing about ramming, speed, and vaporize is you always want to hold it for problematic cards when it's in your hand.
Yep.
But one of the advantages of Smelt is you can get it right away and kill something right away when you see it. It's generally not going to get you something that's incredibly impactful, but against the 2 tall, 3 tall decks, whatever you get is important. They rarely have anything that's not good.
Yeah, so against the wider decks, it's not as important because they're going to get more time to set up, etc. But against the smaller
and
stuff,
they also
good.
play a lot of things that are less impactful.
Yeah, like Field Communicator. Like Field Communicator
Correct.
does it right away in aerial bots. Like I play Field Communicator, I get my extra ability. If I get this +1 attack, great. If I don't, that's not why I really played it anyway.
Correct.
So let's talk about what you played against on the day and where we really went wrong, I guess.
So I played against round 1. I played against an aerial bot deck. Played against Frenchie from Wreck and Rule.
Non-combining.
No, not combining at all. It was an odd deck. It tried to just play a bunch of direct damage and pierce damage. I think it was supposed to be like an anti-aerial bot deck.
Yeah.
That was just weird, but he was able to kill Windblade, and then my other guys just couldn't kill anything. So I definitely made a mistake in game 2. I tried to send in Windblade first to kill Fireflight and failed, and then Windblade was there for all 5 attacks.
Yeah, that seems like pretty poor.
Right, and even if they're only dealing 2 and 3 damage across 5 attacks, that's between 10 and 15 damage, and
Silver
That's how
Bolt.
much life she has.
Silver Bolt direct damage. He had bombing run damage. He
He had Photon Bomb, he had Armed Hovercraft, he had Strafing Run.
Inferno Breath. Yeah.
Yep.
He had it all. He had it all. Except for One Shall Stand.
Yeah.
Didn't have that.
Yeah. And then round 2, I had the bye, and I ended up playing against Mark. He was on Sentinels. I don't know if he was combining or not. He killed me so quickly it didn't matter.
I don't think he was, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I just got mollywopped. His one attack was for 12 on Windblade, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my guy's going to die next turn.
Yeah.
So, round 3, I think the last 3 rounds are kind of muddied. I don't really know what I played against.
I know in round 4...
I know I played against a bug deck, but I think he was
right, so that was round 3.
Yeah, he was just starting out.
Yeah.
He didn't have the full, what you would call, like, the optimized deck, but he had some blues in there. He had, like, Primary Laser, Energon Axe. It's like he was just playing Wave 1 cards that he had opened.
Sure.
But he still had, like, the old school setup with Ransack. And another, so here is where one of the other problems of the...
Right, so problems you were having with the deck against bugs.
Oh, so it was very apparent. I had to attack Shrapnel 4 times in one game.
There's no direct
There's
damage
no
on the deck.
None.
Yeah.
And he was able to heal it with Ransack, which... and he also had Repair Bay, which is generally laughable, but... And I just couldn't do anything. I couldn't deal enough to kill his other guys either. So I had to go through Shrapnel. Shrapnel bought him 3 turns.
Whew.
And I should have been able to beat him one of the games if he had not healed Shrapnel twice. So that was pretty demoralizing.
Sounds pretty awful.
Yeah. And I don't remember what I played round 4.
Against Vince's Predacons.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, okay. And there I got... I don't even remember that game. I just know I didn't win.
I can tell you that you lost so fast that you were able to record a whole other set of videos, and I still was playing.
Yeah. We were playing an Aerobot mirror, though, so...
Sure.
And then the last round, I was paired against Brian. And I was like, man, my deck's awful. I was like, do you just want to play something else? And he said, sure. So I just scooped. And he was kind of not having a banner day either with Starscream. So
I mean, you guys were sitting in the 1-3 bracket, so yeah.
Yeah, so we just decided not to play.
Yeah, that's fine.
We just hung out.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So all in all, I learned a whole bunch and did not win anything.
Yeah. So we talked about it a little bit. You know, we still are kind of holding on to hope for a potential Wave 2 Windblade list. But at this point, with the announcement of Wave 3, like, maybe it's just correct to put her on the back burner for now.
Yeah, probably going to have to shelf her until we get some other cards.
Yeah, I think we can both agree that she just desperately needs a weapon.
Right.
Just desperately.
Or, I think the actual problem is she costs 12 stars.
Well, you can argue that there's no good 8 stars, so like that's where your problem turns into.
Right, but even if you don't have an 8-star, you could still play Barrage. You still have good 7 stars. The problem is she's not worth 12 stars in my opinion. Her stat line is not good enough. The free cards that you get currently aren't worth flipping for, and that's the problem. You have to build your deck around her alt side, so you want to flip as much as possible, but the cards that you're getting aren't furthering your goal of killing your opponent. They're furthering your goal of flipping more cards that are mediocre.
Yeah. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah, so yeah, she has something on her bot side that says when you attack Combiner, all your guys get Pierce 4, but that doesn't even matter.
It doesn't matter if you get to that point and your guys...
If you
are
get to that
alive.
point and they combine, you're dead.
Yeah, exactly. There's a good chance that when Superion combines, his 3 damage goes at Windblade and she dies, so...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even if you do get Pierce 4, you probably didn't deal enough damage throughout the course of the game pre-combine for the Pierce 4 to matter. Even if all 3 of your guys can deal 12 damage, you're still probably not going to kill their guy.
Yeah. I agree. So I guess we can move on to the other part.
What was that?
What I got.
What did you get?
All right.
I forget. Well, I forgot what you rolled first.
All right, so when I had rolled the 22-star cars.
Okay.
And then Optimus Bumblebee.
Uh-huh.
Which, I could have made an argument for playing. I had worked on the deck a lot, and it would have been fine to test it in an open field. But, like you demanding we put a Windblade deck in because you had said on the last podcast, I had said that I was probably going to ride or die in the last die roll.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did. And I got Aerial
What'd
Bots.
you get on that?
I got Aerial Bots, which is the deck you didn't want to get.
Right, so that's really why I Windblade. I just didn't want to play Aerial Bots, so I'm just like, I'm not taking the chance. So I decided to pick a deck that didn't win a single game.
What makes me laugh is that, I literally rolled both of the blue decks. So, any hopes of, playing one of the orange decks that I, wanted to play, just never existed.
Yeah.
After demolishing the 22-star cars in our prior event games, I'm like, I'm not playing this deck.
Yeah. I don't think the deck is bad. I just think it was bad against the double Grimlock deck.
Maybe. I mean, everyone can judge that when they see the video for it, but
you did make the double Grimlock deck look pretty absurd.
Spoiler alert. We played 3 games. Good. We played 3 games in 21 minutes, and Mark didn't win any of those games either.
I didn't do a lot of winning. I won 1 game.
Yeah.
And we probably played...
No, you won 2. You won 2 games against Windblade when I was playing Windblade.
Oh, with not a deck. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So I won 2 games, and we played... I probably played 15 games. 1, 2. So it was a good day.
Yeah. So I had quite the opposite. I started the event 4-0, and then drew with Palmer in the last round. So we went 4-0-1, the 2 of us. My round 1
was
against...
Were you guys the only undefeated?
Yeah, we were both undefeated. So round 1 was against Clayton, who's been in a couple of top 8s and top 4s. Instead of playing Dinobots, he was playing Predakings this time.
Yeah, was he orange slanted?
Yeah, he was orange.
Okay.
I don't like I said in the tournament report, we didn't get deck lists, so I can't tell you how different his list is from one of the others or etc. I don't know.
Sure.
But he was definitely orange heavy, and I think I will say this. I think he got me to the highest damage I was all day pre-combine. I think he got me to 19 or 20 in one of the games. So he got me pretty high before I combined. He did kill, I think 3 things and then had some damage left over, I believe. Something in that area. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I 2-0'd him. And, I don't think the games were, very close. Which is kind of a trend for the day, to be honest with you. In round 2, I played against Joe from Wreck and Roll. He was playing Blue Devastator. And those games were not close by any means. I think the first game he did 9 damage pre-combined. The second game he did 12. And maybe he got me into the high 20s after combining. But he just...
So you guys both combiner face off?
Yeah, but I had gotten him in I had probably gotten him in the 20s in damage. I think both games he combined with only 1 guy left in play. So he would combine, he'd heal his 10 from Devastator, and then still be at 16 or 17 or something like that, and only have 12 or 13 health or something, which was pretty common for the other Devastator games I played that day also. So, and then round 3 I played against Orange Devastator, Craig, who he ended up going 4-1, and I played him again in the top 4. And and I was his only 2 losses on the day. So, just from like that backhand knowledge of, I guess the orange one can at least do enough against orange decks that he was able to win those games and keep himself a top 4, But against me, it was kind of the same thing. I think the first game he got me to like 12, and then the second game he might have got me to like 17. So you're talking I'm combining. I still have 22 health, and now I have a built-in tough 2. I have an armor. He just, even after combining and he's swinging for like 15, 16s, he's still only doing like 7 or 8. So like it still would have took him like 3 turns to get there on me. So I think the orange deck, as he was playing it, was definitely struggling. It's going to struggle against blue heavy coated decks. I just don't think your low base attacks are going to get there unless you do like excessive things the whole game. Oh. And then round 4 is when I played Frenchie also. And Frenchie gave me my only game loss on the day. And like you said, I think his deck was generally built to beat aerial bots. He had a ton of piercing damage, like you said. He had a ton of direct damage, like you said. And all in all, he just had kind of the answers for the deck. And I think one of the reasons I lost was just because I was undervaluing exactly what he was doing and what the deck really was capable of doing against me, like specifically.
Sure.
So I talked to Scott about it a little bit. Like, I think I took too much damage from Alpha Bravo, like on purpose, where like I shouldn't have. I should have.
You mean you attacked with your planes?
Yeah, and I guess I like discredited that damage. And that I ended up losing by exactly 1. So, maybe if I don't take 2 or 3 damage early on in the game, he can't kill me. And we can get to a different game state. But he legitimately got me to a point where I was on 38, and he had one guy with a piercing blaster and another guy, and he had Silverbolt who he could just flip and ping. So I couldn't kill both guys. And he just beats me because of it. Because I'm like, well, I literally died to a ping or 3 damage, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So yeah. But then like those games were the longest and the hardest, because he was mostly blue shell also. So like we just kept bouncing off each other basically, and like I said, he would get there from time to time with his piercing damage. Now what I had realized later on is that he actually was doing like significantly more damage like after I was combining actually. Because like I like wasn't able to kill his guys early on, so like he was getting like 2-3 attacks, and like since he had all the piercing stuff, like he was able to get like piercing damage with Alpha Bravo, and he was able to get like a piercing blaster on air raid, and like stuff like that like I couldn't necessarily contend with after I was combined. So like maybe like looking back, like maybe I'm not supposed to combine as early and like make him deal with my guys singly, so I can keep up with him card for card.
Yeah, that's probably the strategic route that you should have taken, just because so it's one of those things that if you're already doing small amounts of damage, if there is any overflow, it's all going to go to the same hitbox once you combine.
Yeah.
And the things like the pierce from Alpha Bravo and the piercing laser on things like air raid, being able to, once you combine, you can only have 1 armor.
Well, even the other thing is that I was turning on his bigger they are's when I combined.
Oh, sure, yeah. So he just gets extra pierce damage.
Yeah, like he hit me for like 6 or 7 one time,
Mm-hmm.
Just because.
Just because Superion is bigger than any of the aerial bots.
Yeah. And then, like I said, round 5, we went to, it was me and Palmer. It was just after I played like an hour and 10-minute game because our event didn't have timer on rounds, which hopefully that doesn't happen anymore. Yeah, I just said to Palmer, I'm like, we can just draw, right? Because like I don't feel like playing a game. And Palmer said, yeah, that's fine.
Well, and to be fair, you guys were both locked for top 4 anyway.
Yeah, the win-or-loss column wasn't going to matter to us. It wasn't going to affect anyone else. Especially because what we realized later is that it came down to, like, win and in status for everybody, where, like, you have to, like, everyone that was X1 made it, So, like, if you weren't X1, you weren't in. Like, you weren't making it. So, like, it didn't matter with 3-2 tiebreakers.
Correct.
And then I played Craig again in the top 4, and it was, kind of a bunch of the same. He did have one game where, like, he legitimately, like, ripped Enigma off the top and then, like, hit me for, like, a 22. Like this was, like, before, like, his number was 22 before defense. So, like, I think he dealt, like, 14 damage or something like that, So, like, that was, like, a really, really big swing in the game. But, his next attack was way less, and he just still couldn't get there in the end.
So, did he get the heal when he combined? Was he getting the 10 tower counters?
No, but that's not how it works, actually. We kept saying that because...
we want to heal 10.
No, because we want to get to 10 counters to get everything else.
Oh,
gotcha. When Devastator combines, he just heals for whatever the counters were equal to what he has.
Okay.
So, yeah, like, that's why every time he combined, I said, oh, you didn't get the 10, you don't heal. And this happened, like, all throughout the day, because I kept just, like, thinking in my mind, that's all we ever talked about, was like, oh, you get the 10 counters, you flip, you heal 10. That's not how Devastator works. It just heals whatever the counters you are. And I'm like, oh.
The 10 gives him the extra attack and bold?
It gives him the +4 attack.
Right, okay.
So, like, yeah. So, like, that's why you want to get the 10, because you want to be, like, get the 10 attack, have bold 2, and heal 10,
Sure. I imagine that's pretty difficult to overcome.
Yeah. But like I said, in the 4 games that I played against him, this was the only game he actually had 10 counters.
Okay.
He never had enough cards in hand, which I mean, like, it was the first day of Devastator, so I'm sure he was learning just as much as anyone else was. So, like, I don't know how correct it would have been for him to be discarding cards rather than, like, holding them in hand. Like, I know on camera when I went back and looked, like, there were times where he had, like, 2 or 3 Enigmas sitting in his hand, and, like, he's just, like, holding them all, I guess, because in fear of espionage,
Sure.
But, like, maybe he should have discarded 1 to get an extra counter, because I think 2 of the games he combined, he was at 9. So, like, all he needed was, like, 1 more counter to get there, so, like, 1 more discard would have got there, So, it's tough to say. Like I said, it was likely his first day playing the deck, so, obviously
probably.
But yeah, so then we went in the top 2, and it was me and Stefan. He was playing Orange Sentinels. It was a long day, pretty much a long day. I think it was almost like 7:30 or whatever at that time, and I just looked at Stefan. I'm like, hey, you just want to split, and we'll just, call it a night, yada. And he's like, yeah, that works for me. And then we split. And I haven't personally played Aerial Bots versus Sentinels, but I have heard that it's not in my favor. So
we have seen that it's not in Aerial Bot's favor.
Yeah, I mean, like, not on camera. Like, not enough for me to study it and watch it and to figure out maybe that's wrong. And, like, a lot of things, like I've said about our mistakes this week in my portion of the article is that you can listen to someone else all you want, but, like, you should still see it for yourself because you never know what you're going to pick up on and what you're going to find that, like, someone else didn't. So, like, maybe it is a bad matchup, but that doesn't mean it's unwinnable. Maybe if the deck was a card different or 2 cards different, like, it's not as unfavorable, So, like, I would have liked to just do it and play against Stefan, who's been playing the deck for a month, just to actually see it, maybe,
I think it's definitely unfavorable if they don't try and combine. If they try and combine, I think you're fine.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. But like I said, at the end of the day, I would have liked, like, I get it, like, Mirage is a thing, and espionage is when they're playing 3 of them, they're a thing, and I get all that. But at the end of the day, like, if you set up your armor well enough and you can get to your tough and just hit your Enigma on defense, I kind of still think you're okay. So, like, what I've discussed is, like, maybe you just have to play, if, like, Orange Sentinels is going to be a big thing in your meta, like, maybe you just have to play 3 Enigmas. Just so, like, you have, like, they have to match you for Enigmas, basically.
Correct, yeah.
So, but without testing it...
Even if you aren't ready to combine, you just always get the Enigma and you just pressure them to have disruption.
Yeah, as I'm saying, like, it's the same reason why you would play armor against bashing shields. Like, you have to keep them honest. Like, you have to make them play it. Yeah. And even in that case, maybe me taking that Enigma and letting them know that's in my hand, they go to espionage me and they waste their action for the turn because, like, I'm still 2 turns away from combining and have a second Enigma anyway, like, and, like, if they don't Enigma, maybe they reckless charge or maybe they supercharge, so, like, if you take that action away, you actually probably net yourself more health anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
So I just think I like for me personally, like just going over and going with the mistakes from last week that we discussed was like I need to know for myself how that deck and how the matchup really goes. But
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah. So yeah, that's our showcase comic and games tournament report. I the deck will be on screen for everyone, but I played exactly what me and Scott had discussed. The changes would have been for Devastator once it's post Devastator, where we put one Woke Overtime in and we put a Pep Talk in. I just Scott had just recently top forward. I just trusted his opinion, and that's what we did.
How was work overtime, or didn't you draw it?
I did. I played it once. I drew 3 cards one of the games, and I drew 2 cards a couple times. It's a one of. It was just a one of. And then even Pep Talk, I only played Pep Talk one time all day, but it was the turn that I was going second, and I just went second, and my first action was Pep Talk just to increase my hand size and give myself more options for the next turn. So like even the Pep Talk was, it was fine.
So the work overtime, the majority of the time, was a pep talk. It was just white.
Yes, exactly. There was, like I said, there was the one time where I did draw 3. I mean, like the problem is that like most of the time you're always gonna have like an Enigma in your hand,
Yeah.
So like you're never really ever gonna draw 4. But the difference is with between work overtime and then say what Scott played, which was backup plan, is you don't have to scrap your Enigma to draw 3 cards.
Yep.
So
Well, and honestly, what is there really a huge difference between drawing 3 and drawing 2 with pep talk?
I mean, probably not. I just think
And is having the white relevant for you, or would you rather have another blue?
For me, I think the white is relevant, and it's mainly because when you're post combine, I think like legitimately, if I had to really go over it in my head, there was only one time all day in every game that I played that when I had an armor on Superion, I didn't flip over 8 cards, and it was because of the 8 or 9 whites that we have in the deck. I think it is 8 if I'm correct. So basically, like when you have, the base 2 cards and then the tough 2 and then the tough 2 from sparring gear or reinforced plating, in those 6 cards, you're seeing, 20 or 30% of your deck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're seeing 30% of your deck. If you have 8 whites in your deck, the odds of seeing it are like astronomical. Like you're gonna see a white, which means every time you see that white, you get to flip over 2 more cards. So like, even though Superion only has 1 defense, I was still defending most of the time for like 8 or 9.
Sure. So you just didn't ever have any of the bad RNG of hitting multiple whites because you had too many?
Yeah, I mean like obviously that's a thing, and I think that's a thing in deck building, but the problem is that we say this all the time. You always remember when it's bad, right?
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm
So
sure
everybody remembers when it's good.
Yeah, that's fine too. I guess that's true. But for me, is like, it definitely didn't happen enough for me to go, there's too many whites on this deck. Especially because all the whites are good in the deck. I mean,
sure.
You're talking, you got 3 field communicators, which are excellent. You got 2 espionages, which probably will go up to 3. Mm-hmm. I think it's just that good of a card. And then you have the 3 security consoles. So, like, all these cards are just so good for what you're trying to do that it doesn't matter. Like you have to just take away, like if you flip 4 whites, you take your hit on the turn. Like what are you going to do? Like it's going to happen, sure, but chances are it's not going to happen.
Right. I'm just skeptical on playing work overtime over a second pep talk.
Yeah. I mean, I can get that. I like, maybe the extra blue matters. Maybe with more games, you draw more often. You draw 3 cards.
So I think it's one of those things too that pep talk can be your first action, work overtime can't.
Yes, exactly.
So if you actually want that, like as you're going first, you're not going to do anything else. You just want to increase your chances of playing pep talk. You probably up that to 2, or that work overtime slot, that card draw slot, just gets replaced by a 3rd espionage, something like that.
Yeah, which is all possible.
Yeah.
And then like I know. Specifically on Tech Talk, they had a 20-minute debate over Energon Axe, and I told Scott today that I'm not on his side of the fence. I think you need a second Energon Axe. And I told him I think it is that way just because in the current meta, to me, there isn't enough Decepticons to guarantee that you have the Pierce 5. And
Sure.
in the mirror matches, the Nobles Blaster is just not good enough.
No, it's just primary laser.
It's just the primary laser that they're going to just defend off probably. So you're only ever going to get your Pierce 3 most of the time anyway. Whereas I think having a second Energon Axe just to give you more chances of drawing it is a big deal. Because that extra Pierce in the control mirrors is going to be huge.
Yeah, I can see that.
So that's what he argued it, and we both agreed that at the end of the day, we probably neither of us had played enough games to be right. So it's one opinion versus another opinion, etc.
I mean, you could just play Piercing Blaster.
No.
You could.
No.
I'm just saying.
You could, but no.
All right.
You know why? Because Energon Axe is even better against orange decks. So
Is it?
yeah, it has +3 attack.
Right, but I think both of them are terrible against orange decks.
I mean, it just gives you more attack.
Right, if your guy lived.
My guy's gonna live.
Okay.
He lives. Even against... Sure. I mean, like, I guess really the only orange deck I played against all day was... No, against the Predacons deck, he didn't, like...
Mm-hmm.
He didn't always one-shot my guys.
Well, that makes sense. They only have 2 and 3 attack.
Yeah.
Just like the Constructicons.
Sure.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You didn't play against Sentinels that where they have 5, 4, 6 attack.
Yeah.
You didn't play against, the
I mean, like,
heavy...
I still don't think, like, Prowl, on average, opens up and kills Fireflight.
That's probably true because they shouldn't be sending Prowl first, but sure.
But I'm saying, like, if that were the route they wanted to go,
Sure.
Their first attack's not going to kill any of those guys. So even if you just get a free piercing, even if you get a free Energon Axe on Fireflight, at least you know you're going to deal damage.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're going to deal damage anyway, so...
Maybe. Not with my one attack Fireflight.
Maybe not with Fireflight, but I think the other guys will all get at least 2 to 3 damage in. But yeah, I can see what you're saying about Energon Axe.
So we don't need to have a 20-minute argument about it.
We do. I don't like Energon Axe.
That's fine.
You know why I don't like Energon Axe? Because it's blue.
That's fair. So yeah, so that's my day. Successful day. For me, tournament-wise, it was back-to-back top 4s, which I guess is cool because I didn't get to play a top deck.
That's okay. I top 4 to top deck.
Yeah, and then I guess I can really concede myself and say I'm technically 3 for 3 on top 4s in the last 3 events I played in. So
That's true.
I'm on a bit of a hot streak, so I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So we'll see how the next one goes. I'll probably get smashed.
It depends if you have to roll for it.
We're not doing that because I'm not letting you pick bad decks again.
Look, we could just not put a bad deck in.
That's fair. All right, but so let's just that was our tournament report. To go over those 2 decks and how we did with them and what was good, what was bad. Let's like just quickly go over the other top 4, the other 3 decks in top 4. So I'll start with you on the 2 of them. Between the Sentinels deck by Stefan and the Devastator deck by Craig. Since you're such an orange aggro-ish player, why do you think that like these players are choosing these decks over, say like bugs?
An honest answer?
Yeah.
Because they don't want to play bugs. They don't want to play a better orange deck. So I think it's really weird. I've had this conversation with a bunch of people. If you look at it, they do the exact same thing that the bugs decks do. They do the exact same thing. Yeah. So Sentinels is the same thing. High damage output, can utilize ISO function, and just brutalize your enemy. They have 1 less attacker than bugs. I think the only matchup where they're favored is against aerial bots, blue aerial bots, but that's because, first of all, their guys have like 11 and 12 hit points, whereas bugs only have 10.
Uh-huh.
And they have disruption to keep them off of Superion. They have Mirage and Espionage and Combat commands to be able to flip and do that. I think the Devastator deck is just an inferior version of bugs. But if you're playing against a bunch of other orange decks, that have like no armor, it doesn't matter that your guys are always going to be dealing damage. If you're going to be trading off guys every hit, it doesn't matter that your guys are so small because you get 2 additional attacks that they don't, and you're going to get to turn into this huge guy that will probably just seal the deal. So if you expect to play against a bunch of orange decks, the Devastator deck's probably fine. But I think both of them are, I think Sentinels is favored against the heavy blue decks, and I don't think Devastator can compete with them at all unless they get incredibly lucky. And I think that the Devastator deck is favored against the other orange decks just because they have that 1 additional attacker. They have 6 guys. So I think they're good against... I think the only difference is the Devastator deck is better than Bugs against other orange decks because of its additional attacker, and the Sentinel deck is better against the heavy blue decks because it can survive and it has disruption. I think that's the only difference. If you expect those types of decks, that's why you gravitate towards those polls. I think Bugs is just a better aggro deck than both of them in general.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about it, with Devastator. Even though you have these low attacks, these low base attacks, you're still generally going to get there for 3, 4, 5 damage against orange decks, depending on if you play an equipment or if you play an upgrade or you play a action, because you're just orange and they're not blue.
Right. So even if you don't play an upgrade, if you're just flipping cards, just on a mediocre flip, if you have 2 attack and you flip 2 orange cards, that's 4 attack, and they have 1 defense. So you're guaranteeing to lightning bolt them every turn, every attack, and that's worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Best case scenario is you put an erratic lightning or grenade launcher on, and you get to flip 4 cards if you flip in white. So
with Craig's list specifically, I'm fairly confident he didn't have any direct damage spells. Mm-hmm. So you think that would be a mistake if Bugs were, in the meta more?
I don't think so. That is a deck that doesn't actually care about Scrapnel because
you have enough time to just not care about it.
No, because you have 6 attackers.
Yeah.
You have more attackers, so you can just send every guy in, and every guy is going to deal 3 damage.
Yeah.
So it's fine. So even if you, yes, direct damage would be better, but I think it would weaken your other, some of your other matches. But it might be possible that those matchups are already so far out of favor for you that you just don't need to add One Shall Stand to the deck.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not something that we actively tested.
No, we did not test Devastator against anything, and nobody wants to play against Bugs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Go back to February. Watch Dinobots vs. Bugs. I don't know. I don't either.
Yeah, man. I always have 2 copies of that deck in my bag at all times. Anybody that wants to play a mirror, I'm ready to go.
That's fair. All right. So with Stefan's Sentinel list, he's holding on to this 1 green Enigma.
Oh, the Delusion?
He's holding on to it, and we had a conversation on site at the event, and I asked him the same question I'm going to ask you now. I understand the we'll say safety net that maybe it presents, but what I need to understand is if you're playing this deck, if you're playing this all orange deck, and you're this aggro control-ish type thing, what do you need this Enigma for as a one of in your deck? What do you need the safety net for?
Pride.
Okay.
That's the answer.
What would you need it for?
I wouldn't need it.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's the difference. So it could be different if Sentinels was a 5 bot team. Because you could know sitting down against from whatever matchup where you need to combine, say it's 2 tall primes. Say you need to combine against that. You can sculpt your game plan early enough that you can still flip your guys and combine in a timely manner. When it's 6 guys, that extra turn is just too much for you to be able to do that and still combine on time while still pressuring them.
So, not that I'm disagreeing with what you're saying, but I actually look at it slightly different. I look at it as, I think in every matchup, one of your guys in the yard is better to just continuously flip.
Yes.
So for me, in all of these matchups that we can possibly think of, Mirage is good in one of them. Hot Rod's good in another one. You know, like the
Well, Hot Rod's not good in any of them, but
okay, Ironhide. No, not Ironhide. What's the
Sunstreaker.
Sunstreaker? Yeah. So Sunstreaker's, you know, he's good in other ones. You know, like he's
Yes.
good. He's so like, for me, I would much rather play the deck, flipping my best potential flip every turn, than having the idea in the back of my mind, well, I might have to flip more of these guys because I may have to combine. You know?
Sure.
That's where I'm at with it.
So to me, you just make that an I still function because it's already technically a blank on offense and defense anyway. So you
Yeah,
might as well
and
play like a powerful blank card.
He's already playing two I still functions.
Right.
So like you could very easily say that that's that, you know? And I think you can
Sure.
agree to that. In his list specifically, he still has I don't think he had these in there before, and then I think after top 4 of top deck, maybe he added them in. He still has he now has power swords in the list. And I know, like, I'm not sure if we talked about it on the last podcast or not, but I know, like, we immediately said that power sword and leap in the battle were probably the 2 worst cards in the previous top 4 Sentinels deck.
Right.
So-
And I think Stefan has actually said that he doesn't particularly like them.
After the event, he said he was going to cut them.
Right. But I think it's one of those things that also, when you had that Enigma in play, and he had been playing to combine for so long, that he wants to trigger Optimus, so he just, like, it's an ingrained trait to just keep some blues in so you can flip Optimus to get a free flip and cheat a turn.
Sure.
Whereas you don't actually need them if you're just not trying to do that.
Yeah.
Like, it just streamlines your deck, it streamlines your play.
Yeah.
If you just don't have the Enigma in your deck.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I tried to get the answer from him on 2 different occasions, once during the tournament report and once off camera. And even him, really, he couldn't just give me the answer that I was hoping for. At the end of the day, I just want to understand why people, I need to know what it's specifically in there for, if there's actually a reason, because for me, I just can't find one.
I mean, the reason's simple. You just want to turn into Optimus Maximus, or you want to have the illusion you can do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is a line of play that you can get your Enigma back. Like, you have some card in your hand that you don't actually need, you're not going to use. You get an Enigma, and I'm not saying it's going to work all the time because it clearly won't, but you can be able to almost, like, bully your opponent into espionaging you or playing in a different way. Like, if you just get the Enigma back into your hand and they've killed Prow or Optimus or whatever, and you just flip that guy into bot mode.
So you're just bluffing?
It's, right. Well, no, they just... So once you start to flip the guys that aren't already in your KO pile,
Yeah.
They're like, oh my goodness, he's going to combine. I have to play differently so he doesn't combine, even though you have no intention of doing that.
Sure.
Right. And I'm saying that
just-
is not going to be good.
Just off
But
attack,
it is-
flip Ironhide just because.
No, I'm saying, like, if he's already dead.
Oh, yeah, sure.
If he's dead and you're just like, okay, I'm not going to flip this other guy back, I will flip this guy to make it look like I'm trying to combine in 2 times.
Sure. Okay. Sure.
I think that's the only reason that it's there, but it's not in, like, that's not an optimal reason to have the card in your deck.
Yeah, I don't like that reason at all because, I mean, like, it's basically like assuming that your opponent's going to play into it, one, and it's likely if they don't play into it, it puts you at a disadvantage.
Right, but if they don't play into it, it, like, actually doesn't hurt you.
No, it might, because flipping Mirage or flipping, you know, one of the other guys might be better.
Right, but I'm saying if you flip that Mirage back, they know you're not combining. I'm saying it's only going to work on weaker opponents.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think I like that. But we've had that
Well,
conversation.
I don't either, but
We've had
that's
that
the only
conversation.
reason that it's in there.
Sure.
It's a bluffing tactic you can use to bully weaker opponents, and it's actually unnecessary because you're still just going to beat them anyway.
Sure. All right. Well, I think we griped enough on those two. Let's talk about Palmer. He brought an updated deck of the Touch.
Kind of updated.
So the newer stuff is he has 3 security consoles. He has 2 espionages. He has a photon bomb, which isn't new. It's just new to this deck.
He just wanted to deal 12 to Devastator.
And he has 2 marksmanships.
Well, Well, he has
and,
sparring gear.
and 2
Sparring gear
gears.
over body armor, which is the huge upgrade.
I think it's a big enough upgrade to talk about.
I mean, what's there to talk about? It's just better than body armor.
Yeah. I think it's so much. I think
it's not better than body armor. It's better because you can guarantee it.
Yeah, for me, I think it's so much better than body armor that you don't need to play 3 reinforced platings.
That might be true. But once again, it's trying to overload the bashing shield. Did he have any treasure hunts? Like, did he have a single treasure hunt?
1.
Right. So
most of the older list had
overload they can just overload a bashing shield. So you can like find.
I mean, as much as that may be true, you can still lean on security console as well.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think with the addition of security console and you being a defensive deck rather than playing data pad now, I just don't think you need the 5 armors. Like, maybe it's still 4, but like, I think I've even gone down to just playing 3 in some of the current lists that I have.
And it's always in favor of sparring gear, 2 sparring gear, 1 reinforced?
Yeah, to me it's definitely always sparring gear. There's no reason. I mean, like, yeah, I understand like the blue factor, but just the factor of guaranteeing that you can get the sparring gear is just, it's too good to pass up.
Yeah.
So he played the lone photon bomb, which, he said he expected a lot of combiners, and there were a lot of combiners, but he didn't actually play against them because I was too busy playing against them.
I think he played against 1.
He played against Scott.
Got the bomb.
Yeah, he played against Scott with Predaking, and then he played against. He played it in the top 4 against Stefan.
Right, but that's not a combiner deck, so.
No, it's not. But he did it, and like it mattered because he actually flipped like photon bomb and the orange, so he was able to one-shot prowl.
Yep.
So like he just got there with it. Pretty unorthodox way to get there, but it got there.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, he had Vaporize also, which, like we said, like he's not playing Bash and Shield, he's playing Vaporize because.
Did he
Optimus.
play 2?
He played 2, yeah.
Right, so he should have just played Vaporize and Smelt.
We like kind of what we've started to do. Yeah, we've started to change a Vaporize for Smelt just because you're too tall and you can just get to them before they can set up.
Mm-hmm. But he played some cards we didn't like. He played Drill Arms, right?
Yeah, I think Drill Arms is atrocious, for sure. And I would say that to anybody in this game currently. I can't imagine why we would play it.
I think the only deck where it's defensible is in a Wheeljack deck.
Just because it lets you sift?
It lets you draw 2 cards, discard 1.
Sure.
Right. And it's also, when it's bad, you just discard it for Wheeljack.
Yeah.
I'm saying that is the only time where I see it's defensible. Just like being able to play a Singleton Reinforcement Batons. The card is not great, but when it's good, it's going to be excellent.
Yeah, but the difference with that one is that it's green. You can get whatever you want.
Sure, but like the Wheeljack decks are playing like they should be playing like a full set of treasure hunts.
Yeah.
And they get to see more cards with Wheeljack. So, I mean, you get to see more cards. You just don't get to guarantee when you get it.
Yeah, so for me, I don't think I've even looked at Drill Arms since Wave 2 was released. So
I've looked at it.
When I saw it was in the deck, I'm like, oh, all right.
That's still a card?
I guess. I mean, hey,
it is a card.
Like I said, he went undefeated until top 4. So
yeah, it draws a card.
It draws a card. Sure. Other than that, I will say this, for me, and based off my article, I was happy to see Optimus Prime did have a showing. I was glad that somebody found Optimus Prime. I can take my missing in action signs down and recall my milk cartons.
Yeah. Found him.
And what I will say about this is that it did make me, for me, I, like Scott, like we had talked about a little bit offline, was, we kind of dismissed Nemesis and Too Tall because at the end of the day we had such success with 3-wide, and 3-wide was just so good against Too Tall that why would you go back to Too Tall,
Because the rest of the metagame has changed.
Exactly, and I think that was definitely a downfall on my end, downfall on Scott's end, because we're generally the Optimus people in the group, and I don't think either one of us considered going back, and even now I still don't think Nemesis is correct. just because of all the press the advantages walking around, and like, yeah, he has 16 health, but like press the advantage is still a +4 against him all day. So like basically all they do is they kill your Optimus Prime, and then you sit around with this, 16 health guy that they can just two-shot, and you can't two-shot them. So
Accurate.
that's where I'm at with that. So but what it did is what it did entice me is that maybe the Bumblebee deck, like it deserves just a little more tuning, a little more testing, and see maybe what that deck can like truly do in a tournament atmosphere.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think I've said all I need to say about the top 4.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on to the final tally marks.
Yeah.
How did
From our predictions at the beginning of March.
Yeah, how do we do? I think that was I believe it was episode 3.
Yeah.
We made these predictions.
I believe that we were wrong on every single one.
I'm just happy that we were accurate, like close enough.
Sure. Yes.
So we said Optimus Prime was going to be the number 1 played hero in top 4s.
Correct.
In 12 players that made top 4s, we had 1.
Correct. And what was the most played?
It was Barrage.
It was Barrage.
There were 2 Bugs and 1 Starscream. All
Yes.
featuring Barrage.
Yep.
All right.
And then our second most you thought was going to be Grimlock,
Yes.
and there was just a whole bunch of doubled up ones. There was 2 Sentinels. There was 2 aerial bots.
Yeah, which in fairness, we didn't predict either of those.
Right, and I'm saying there was 2 different Grimlock decks, but there wasn't a definitive second place. Everything was 2s.
Yeah.
So Grimlock was there.
Yeah, so 2 Grimlock.
So you were right on that.
2 Grimlock, 2 Scrapnel, 2 Kickback, There's
Yep.
2 of a lot of copies of whatever decks.
Aerial bots, yeah.
Yeah, I guess, me and Scott both made Aerial Bots 2 ofs. Now, what I could argue is the only reason why Barrage was the number 1 was because you played it at Top Deck. Because if you didn't play it, no one else played Bugs, which means there's no way it ever gets into the top 4.
Yeah, probably.
So, Barrage kind of got a buffer. He got a +1.
Well, to be fair, I was going to play Starscream or Bugs at that event, and both of those decks have Barrage. Although I don't think
Damn
I
it.
would have had the success with Starscream that I did with Bugs.
Only, in my opinion, because of lack of actual playing with Starscream.
Maybe, yeah.
I think you've played enough games with Bugs where you can literally almost autopilot it.
Yeah.
So that's a good that's a good thing on your end. Play to your strength,
Yeah.
as you said in your failures article.
Yeah.
Play to your strength. So battle cards.
So, I thought it was going to be Mining Pick.
It was not.
It was not.
Yeah, there was actually.
It was what you thought was going to be the second most played card.
Yeah.
It was Grenade Launcher.
Yeah, because the card's dumb.
It is. But what we also failed to realize was the decks that are going to play Mining Pick will also play Grenade Launcher.
And people just didn't play Mining Pick.
Right, and Grenade Launcher goes in non-Mining Pick decks as well.
Yeah.
So,
like it went in
if you're
Starscream.
if Mining Pick makes the top 4, Grenade Launcher's right there with it.
Yeah.
So that was an oversight. And then our second played battle card was the double pips. Peace to Tyranny and Improvised Shield.
Yeah, it was definitely more orange than blue in our tops. So those 2 definitely come up more often. Which is also, kind of confusing because at the end of the day, I think if you're playing those 2 cards, you should be playing Mining Pick.
Right, so it's kind of like a package deal. You play Mining Pick, Improvised Shield, Peace to Tyranny, and Grenade Launcher is in your deck.
Yeah.
So
it's odd that, people didn't want to do that. Neither of the Sentinel decks had Mining Picks.
that's because for the first 2 events, they were trying to combine.
Yeah, the Dinobot deck did not have Mining Picks. Double Grimlock did. Starscream did. Bugs did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all those decks.
All those decks had Grenade Launchers.
Exactly. So yeah. Whatever.
So we were close. We overestimated the amount of people that would want to play Optimus Prime.
Yep.
And just didn't realize that Grenade Launcher is just more universally aggressive than Mining Pick is. Also, I think not necessarily an availability thing. It's not that difficult to get, but
yeah,
that could have had something to do with it as well.
Day one, people that didn't get a lot of Wave 2 didn't have 3 Mining Picks, but they sure as shit had 3 Grenade Launchers.
Sure. Came in the starter.
Yeah.
It was all the Wave 1.
Yeah.
It came in the Devastator deck, too. So if you didn't have them, you had them in your Devastator deck.
Well, there you go. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Is it also in Metroplex?
Grenade Launcher, I don't believe so.
Okay. We know we did miss that. There was one Metroplex. We missed it earlier.
There was a Metroplex, but that had Improvised Shield and Piece to Tyranny.
My apologies to Vince. When we were going over what the top 4s were, we totally missed Metroplex.
And he won.
Yeah, he won. I mean, yeah, he won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a deck that has Piece to Tyranny and Improvised Shield and no Grenade Launcher or Mining Pick.
Yeah. Which is...
But that's because that's a weird deck.
Actually, I want to take that. I think he might have actually been playing Mining Picks.
But he wasn't playing Grenade Launcher.
No, but I do think I think he may have been playing Mining Picks. I mean, I could go back and look at his article, I guess. Really
Hold on,
quickly.
I have the list.
Okay.
No.
All right.
He was playing Power Punch.
Okay. I remember when I definitely remember us talking about it.
Yeah, there's no Mining Pick in his deck.
So maybe that was what would confuse me.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. All right. Well, there was that.
Yeah, those predictions.
Let's just like quickly go over kind of like the continuation off our failures order from last week. You know, I said it in my piece, and you know, you've said it offline and stuff like that about inbred testing.
Yeah.
So we had come to the conclusion on like certain decks that we thought were going to be the quote unquote best decks, and these decks aren't necessarily showing up. And that kind of, it doesn't look like it because we've still been successful enough, but it does to me impact the way we have to consider and think about our upcoming events. You know, just because like, you know, we're planning on one thing to happen and then like there's literally 0 of them there. So that's that becomes a bit of a way to think about things, you know, like, oh, well, I want to build this deck, but it loses to that deck. But if that deck doesn't show up, then it doesn't matter, you know?
Right. And I think that's what a lot of people that, oh, well, we just can't beat bugs. Well, nobody played bugs for the first event. I played it at one event. Rob played it at another event. And at Showcase, I saw one, and it wasn't a fully powered one.
Yeah.
So 3 in 3 events across
good amount of
50
people.
players?
50 players. Yeah.
Right.
So,
I think you just have to hope you don't play against it. Hope it just doesn't show up, doesn't fall into your bracket.
Yeah, I mean, like, even, like, we'll say, you know, for me last weekend, if Aerial Bot's bad matchup is Orange Sentinels, you know, there was 3 Orange Sentinel players there in 20 players. I did not play against one of them. I would have had to play one against in the finals, and that would have been it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I just dodged my worst matchup and went undefeated because of it, you know? So, if you... I think what I'm trying to say is, like, if you're planning on playing this deck and you're worried about losing to another deck, like, I don't think you can think that way anymore. I think you have to, like, you know, we kind of given the information, like, in our tournament reports, and we have the top 4 deck list on the page. Like, you can look at what's been doing well and what's been winning, and you don't see one of those decks, like, come up common enough, and you don't hear us talk about a deck that's common enough, then, like, chances are no one's really playing that deck, and you should just play what you feel is comfortable.
Right. I don't think you can not play a deck because it has one weak matchup. You're not good against every deck. It's not possible to be that way. So, now, if you are, say, weak to, well, I'm weak to decks that have Grenade Launcher, Piece through Tyranny, and Improvised Shield. Well, that is a whole swath of decks, regardless of the lineup. If you're weak to that style of deck, don't play that deck.
If you're weak to that style of the deck, we just told you that they were the most common cards. So like either you have to
Yeah,
make
don't play that deck.
either you have to make drastic changes to your deck or just put it aside for right now. If you can't beat those decks efficiently, then you should not be playing. Shouldn't be playing that deck.
Correct. Oh well, I mean you can play it, but if you want to succeed, you can't.
Yeah, like I said, and if we go to top 8, I'm sure the numbers are even greater for grenade launchers and for peace opportunities and shields. Because like even I said, like
sure.
outside of the one event that had 2 blue aerial bots in top 8 that played off against each other, there just hasn't been a whole lot of blue, and I think that has a lot to do with bashing shield being prevalent in the meta right now.
So it's also what happened at the beginning of Wave 1. Everybody was scared of Dinobots in the beginning, and then Insecticons. It's just heavy orange aggro decks because they're just the easiest decks to pilot that lets you make mistakes and it's still forgiving. The blue decks are not forgiving. If you make mistakes or miss sequence, it's possible that it'll cost you the game. Whereas if you attack with, Ransack unflipped for 3 instead of kickback on your second attack, it's not going to make a huge amount of difference in most of your matches. It will matter in some, but it won't matter in a bunch of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. So yeah, so like, for us, at the end of day 1, you and I personally pretty much neglected combiners as a whole.
Yes.
And whether or not they are good in top contending decks, I think we could still debate about. But what I'm trying to get across is that doesn't matter because people are playing them.
Right, yeah, it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if they're good or bad or medium. You're just going to see a bunch of them because people want to play them. They're going to play what they want to do.
Yeah.
So you have to have a game plan for them. If your deck is weak to combiners and you go to one of these events, 20-person events, you're going to play combiners probably at least twice.
Or 5
and if
times.
Right.
Or 5
but
times.
Some people didn't play. Did Palmer play any?
Played against 3 Sentinels.
Oh, well, okay.
3 Sentinels, 1 Predaking.
Okay, so he played against 1 combiner.
And Ariel, and me. So technically.
Oh, so he played against 2 combiner decks and 3 Sentinels.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Whether or not the other ones had Enigma, I do not know.
Predaking did.
No, I meant the other Sentinels.
Oh, sure. Right, yeah.
I don't know.
But that match is so quick that you don't have time to combine.
Yeah.
You aren't going to have 6 turns against Optimus Nemesis.
No.
Sorry, pal.
No. I mean, like, even if like, you haymaker Optimus Prime somehow, on your opening attack and then, like, finish it off with a 1-shell stand, which is still, like, obnoxiously ambitious, it's still likely not going to happen like that.
Well, I'm saying either you're going to kill their team or they're going to kill before you get to flip 6 guys, so it's not going to matter.
If Optimus gets off 2 attacks, mom betting on you might have lost the game.
Oh, sure, definitely.
So, yeah.
Yep.
He might not. He might not get 2 attacks enough and you win. That's great. But if he does, I think you're in some trouble. So, yeah, and like I said, we had aerial bots. Aerial bots, they were everywhere. Sentinels were everywhere. We pegged bugs as being one of the best decks, and people just didn't play bugs. We pegged Optimus to be one of the best decks, and people just didn't play Optimus.
To be fair, we pegged Optimus Prime as the best character. We did not necessarily peg it as the best deck.
Yeah.
We just thought
thought
that people would still play it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I misspoke. I didn't mean best deck. I just meant people were going to play it. So people didn't play it. I think there was the same amount of Optimus players as there was Bugs players through 3 events.
I bet there was more Optimus players.
Not by much. First event had 2. Second event had 1. Third event
and third event had 1. So that's 4.
That's 4. So yeah, so I'm saying it's 4-3,
Right.
Not by much. And yeah, so I'm trying to like really gather. I mean, like we had Starscream, probably showing up more than he has.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's pretty much dropped off since week 1. And like yeah, we both played him week 1, but I think week 2 only one guy played him. And I don't know if anyone played him last week. Oh, Brian did. So Brian played him last week, but he had a really bad day. And not to diss on Brian by any which means, I just think that deck's not something he should have played on that day with the experience that he has currently.
Yeah, that's probably true.
I don't think it's just a deck that you pick up and play. I think it's more in depth than that.
Yeah, and I think that one is a sequencing deck, knowing how you have to sequence properly and where to take your shots.
Yeah.
Which is not something that you can really know unless you've played it.
Or played with someone that knows better.
Yeah, that's played the deck, yeah.
Which, no one should fear from. I do it every day, okay? I mean, I can't even imagine how many times Mark has inadvertently yelled at me for doing something stupid. I learn every day. It matters.
That's what I'm good at.
That's fine. Between you and Scott, I don't care. Like I'll take my lashings.
Yeah, and you've gotten better.
Yeah, of course I have.
Yeah.
I've made 3 top 4s.
Right. How well did you do in wave 1?
Well, I made the last top 4.
Okay.
I made 2 top 4s in wave 1.
Did you?
I went 3-1 at the one showcase event. I finished 3rd. And I went 4-1 at PAX on my second day ever playing the game. I've only had like 2 really bad tournaments. The one was the charity event that Scott handed me Bumblebee RC Grimlock, and that deck was a monstrosity. And the other one I played Bugs, and I just played it really badly. Yeah, and lost to the same decks that you did. You just had better matchups.
Yeah.
So, I think I've done okay. God. See? Always hating. Always.
Yeah. Of course.
Doesn't matter if I do good. I still suck. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. So
your role.
That's where we're at now. So right now, as of this moment, we definitely have a confirmed April 20th Top Decking Games. Top Deck Comics and Games, or no. Not just Top Deck Games. Yeah, sorry, Top Deck.
It's just Top Deck Games.
Just Top Deck Games. Their event on April 20th. That's being sponsored as a case event, like the last 2 have also been. I can say that even when they went down to 16 players for the last event, they still gave out at least 1 case and then some packs. And then after that, there may or may not be an event at the guild, unconfirmed.
We're looking to have it the first weekend in May. We haven't decided whether they haven't decided whether it's going to be Saturday or Sunday. But that's the weekend that they're looking for.
Either it's May the 4th be with you or Cinco de Mayo. Either way, I want nachos.
Oh, I want nachos too.
Well, there you go. We're going to have nachos.
Okay.
And then, like, once again, it's unconfirmed, but it's been common that Top Deck runs their events on the 3rd of every month. So chances are we're also going to have another Top Deck game on May 18th. So that's what we're looking at in the coming weeks. Now, granted, we have a couple weeks now before our next event. So we have plenty of time to really decide and look over what the meta has been for us. And I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. Like, what do you think, knowing now, like, what our meta's been and what the decks that have keep showing up have looked like? What do you think is favorable to you? Like, do you think Bugs should just be played? You think Bugs is favorable right now in the meta, for sure?
I think Bugs is favorable in the meta until a bunch of people start playing heavy blue decks.
All right,
currently, the only deck that's really heavy blue that can soak all of your attacks is Aerial Bots.
Yeah, I mean,
the 2-wide Prime deck, or I think any 2-tall deck, even if it's blue-based, is going to be weak to Bugs because they get that extra attack. Bugs was generally weaker to a 3-wide Optimus deck, which is still probably true, even though we haven't quite nailed one down, a good updated list. But I think those 3-wide decks are weaker to the other orange decks, so they're going to be weaker to more matches. And it's probably a poor call to play it like, so they're probably weaker to Sentinels. They're weaker to Double Grimlock. They're weaker to, they're probably fine against Constructicons because that kind of falls more on the bug side. But they're probably weaker to anything with Grimlock, probably weaker to Cars, just because all of these orange decks have gotten better attacking upgrades, better attacking.
Yeah, you no longer have to cripple yourself by playing blue actions. Like you have orange
You don't
actions.
have to play Leap in battle. You can play Reckless Charge.
Or you can just play Mining Pick, so I have to agree there that I think, as dominant as 3-wide was at the end of the meta for Wave 1, I think it's not as prevalent now because it even in aerial bots, it's forcing your opponent to attack more times, so you're getting more tough and blue triggers. You're just generally gaining more health throughout the game,
Yep. Well, and also, the reason that 3-wide was so dominant is because everybody was playing, a lot of people were playing the double prime list. And 3-wide had a better matchup against double primes and against bugs.
Yeah.
But it was weaker to things like Metroplex and Dinobots, but Dinobots was kind of weak to everything else.
Yeah.
So Dinobots kind of got pushed out. So the 3-wide deck just was able to run rampant. It was just, I have the best Optimus deck, and I'll take my lumps if I have to play against, X or Y.
Yeah, I'll take my loss against Dinobots because, I'm probably going to win my other 4 rounds.
Right, and that's if someone shows up with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Unless you're Mark with ready for action.
Listen, okay, so I like to play different decks too.
Yeah, I get that.
So I gotta try some things out. Sometimes you gotta test them in the field, and sometimes when you fail, you have a rate of failure. You learn a bunch of things. You get to see different interactions.
Oh yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
I'll be that guy. I'm okay with.
Yeah, I mean, I say it all the time. I think filming these games is giving me so much more insight because, even if I, especially when I watch my own games, but even if I go back and watch someone else's games, it's just great to get in the mind of another player to see where their lines were and why they did this and why they did that. So.
Yeah, sometimes you have to flip Dragstrip over and read his bot side.
Sometimes Dragstrip has Pierce 1 and would win you a game, and you just
don't do it.
You just don't do it. And then sometimes you should attack with Barrage first, and people don't do that either.
Yep.
Who knows?
Everyone knows.
But yeah, so for me, I am curious if now that the meta is more shaped and we have 3 events to look at things, if there is a 3-wide deck that could be molded, that could be good. It's tough to say without actively playing games against Sentinels and even Devastator. Just be really hard to consider what is what.
Sure. So the way that I 3-wide I look at it as the 3-wide Optimus deck. You're still Optimus. You're just trying to protect your endgame card, which is
nut.
Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend. So it's an anti-control deck.
Yeah.
Now, because you just have an extra turn to help Optimus Prime. Aerial Bots has taken that to the far right. You have 5 characters now. You don't start with your endgame threat in play. You turn into it.
Yeah.
So, that is a 5-character build that turns into... He doesn't turn into Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend, but those stats, when he attacks, does damage. It's very reminiscent of it.
Yeah, and the big thing is that it's more defensive also.
Right. So you have to attack all the time. They gain so much more health and armor than what they have. And you're a heavy blue deck. You're also able to control combat better.
Well, yeah.
You draw way more cards.
Yeah, but even in 3-wide, if you're successfully able to protect Optimus, in this deck it's different because like once you do turn in Superion, you just get to have an innate tough 2. So you're always going to be flipping 4 cards whether you have an armor or not. And then like I said earlier, like if you have that armor, if it sticks, now you're flipping 6. And chances are you're going to hit a crit, which means you're flipping 8. So like, you know, you're on average going to defend 8 or more, and that's just dumb.
Yeah, so I mean, it honestly, like, you can't really say that one deck is going to rule the roost, so to say, because
Yeah.
they're all good against different things and countering other things. It's not like in Wave 1 where it's, man, Optimus Prime is just the best character. We should just play Optimus Prime. And you did see that towards the end. Everybody just played Optimus Prime, whether it was double primes or 3-wides.
Yeah, I think
that last event probably had...
It's like 23,
had what,
23 players. I think 8 of them were 3-wide Optimus.
Right, 8 of them were 3-wide, but that's not even counting the double primes.
And there was double primes, yes.
Right, so there was at least 3 or 4 double primes as well. So almost half the field had Optimus Prime Battlefield Legend in their deck.
Yeah.
That is not the case now because the field has diversified.
Yeah.
With so many more decks.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's just kind of one of those that if you know what your local metagame is going to bring, or you know that, you know, say you're going to play a top deck. Top deck is known to have a more defensive crew. Well, then you want to try and build something that can attack that. Maybe you want to play Sentinels. Now, if you go, say, Swarthmore, those guys are all aggressive or something like that. You want to play Bugs. You know, so it really depends on what you expect to play against. You can make an informed decision with what you want to play.
Well, I mean, especially more now than ever because, like, we're keeping track of these top 4 decks. And like I said, we're doing the tournament reports telling you as much information as we possibly can every week that we have these events. So, like, you can truly make an educated decision. It's as much as for anyone else as it is for us.
Yeah. And I mean, it's going to be different wherever you are. We're just in this area of Philly, Jersey, East Coast.
Yeah.
Very small subsection. But I imagine that other people you can use this information and just base it on your metagame.
Yeah, that's what
as well.
That's why I specifically said, like, our local metagame is
Yeah.
this. And, like, to be truthful, it's wide. You know, it's like we said, we had a lot of different 2 of characters in top 4s across three events, you know? So, like, it's not the same deck winning every week. It's some of the decks didn't even make more than 1 appearance, and
now
decks...
I do think that that will start to bottleneck as the months go on.
Oh, I agree.
Everybody will be like, okay, well, these decks are... So, taking our information from the top 4s, well, these decks have risen to the top. So I think that will have more players gravitate towards those decks.
Yeah, but
I think we'll see an increase in those orange decks. But then, if that happens, you're going to be able to pick your spot where a defensive blue deck is, or
that's where
some other deck we haven't seen.
That's where I think, like I said from before, I think that's where Optimus plays best. Because if I know what the meta is going to look like going in, I can just pick what I lose to and then build accordingly. You know?
Yeah, and to be fair, maybe Dex isn't a blue Optimus.
Yeah, maybe somehow it's orange.
Right, or maybe it's a mix. It's a 3-wide deck. Kind of plays the way the Starscream deck does, but with direct damage instead of trying to use crowns.
Yeah.
Like you might be able to play it with drag strip and have a mixed pip ratio in there and someone else and be able to do that. But instead of trying to hit for 15 and 16 per turn, you're going to hit for 11 and also get to deal damage outside of combat.
Yeah, whether it be through like Energon slingshots, you know, like even that because you're melee.
Mm-hmm.
You could play those cards, you know. You can still play marksmanship because your range also, like, yeah, there's situations.
Right, but that also lets you play. So you can play the melee cards if you play with, say, Barrage. Play melee cards, you get to use drag strip and Barrage in melee mode, and you can play Armed Hovercraft for additional damage when you flip Barrage and Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
So I mean, you get to do different things. You just have to decide if that direct damage is going to be worthwhile.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's all still up for debate. We have a couple weeks to decide, you know, where we're at with it. I'm sure as we get closer, you know, you'll hear from me and Mark again, and about maybe where we are leaning at that time. Right now, I'm not necessarily leaning in any direction. I still think Grimlock is outstanding.
Yeah.
So like I think like maybe I'm leaning at double Grimlock, maybe just to start for right now, because at the end of the day, I think that deck is very undervalued right now.
Yeah, I'll agree.
But hey, there's still as much as you hate them, there's still combiners that we really haven't given our go all and really see if they're worthwhile. Like maybe we have
That's true.
Maybe we have to start doing that more just to see if we can get something better than someone else that came up with.
I don't think we've really had any. I haven't played with Menasor yet. I've played with his parts, some of his parts, but I have yet to play with Off-Road and Motormaster in any deck, let alone all of them together.
I'll say this much: in the brief amount of fanning that I did earlier, playing Enigma after you're combined is pretty cool.
Yeah, it draws 2 cards. It's Pep Talk.
Well, it draws 2 cards, and you get to play another card.
Well, that's from Menasor, not from the card, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying. So
right.
like it lets you pep talk and then like play one of the cards you pep talked. So like that's pretty fun.
It's like Brainstorm.
No, because you get to draw cards.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Yeah, no, you're wrong.
Maybe it's a different game's Brainstorm. I can't remember.
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so I think I think we covered a lot. I think, the meta is definitely shaped, our meta is definitely shaped in probably different than we imagined it would be.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's very safe to say. And I just think it comes down to knowing thy opponent. Like if you have this information and you get the information of what people are playing, then all right, well then play to your strength.
Yeah, you got to either play to your strengths or find a way to break the matchup in your favor.
Yeah, but like
I can't tell you how to do that because we haven't figured it out yet.
For some of the decks, I just I think currently it's just not possible. But like I said, we both said before, I think it's fine. Like you have to go in knowing you can't beat everything, and that's okay.
Yeah, because if you could beat everybody play that deck.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have to beat that deck, which creates a whole other dilemma in itself.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think unless you have anything else you want to cover, Mark.
No, I think that's it. I think we did a lot of talking.
Yeah, I think we did. I think we did
a lot of talking.
Yeah, I mean, we went over a lot, in fairness. We summed up a month of tournament. We went over decks. I think we covered a whole lot, which is good, because sometimes we don't necessarily always do that. And I think every once in a while it's fine,
Yep.
What I do want to say, if for those of you that did make it all the way through this, kind of like Tech Talk has been doing the last couple of weeks, we really want to do like a mailbag section. So if you have any questions, you want to leave a comment on the video. If you want to email VectorSigma.info at Gmail. All that access. If you want to Facebook message me or Mark or Scott or Vince or any of us, just so we can answer these questions for you. I think I would love to do it.
Are we making them TCG related questions?
I don't really care, to be honest. I don't mind answering some personal questions. It's fine, as long as it's PG-13 at least.
All right.
I don't want you to email in a question that you want to know, and then I have to force to be answered it.
All right.
So don't do that.
All right, I won't. I'm not very good at using so.
All right, Mark. Well, it has been a hell of a time talking to you.
Yeah, man.
And,
have a good one.
I look forward to next time.
Yep.
Have a good one.